her words were, "We're not going to beat around the bush. We found cancer." That's what she said. You know, these were some of the comments that I got. Black people don't get cancer. How comes you've got it? What have you done? You know, because almost like it was like cancer was a curse, you know, sort of thing. Oh my God. Do you know what? I'll be honest, when I felt like a legend the most was when I was asked to run the Olympic torch in 2012. I'd done it like the day before the Olympics in near the Olympic grounds, and I actually felt like I was famous. I felt like I had done a good thing, you know, because it was all like community heroes and stuff. And I think that was the most time. I always talk about that being like a time where I was like, wow. I felt like I had done a good thing, if you know what I mean, for my community, and I was a good person, I suppose.
And tell us a story about when you obviously found out
Yeah.
that you had cancer.
Oh God, I feel like I'm gonna get emotional now. That's all right. I turned 30, and I've been through quite a lot of things in my life. So like I've started a business when I was 15. I left home when I was 13, you know, due to, you know, some really serious family issues and stuff. So I'd always been quite mature for my age. So when I turned 30, I wrote a book. And I remember I was launching the book in February 2016. And my mum was really not well. And my mum's had obviously breast cancer before. And I will never forget it. She was acting really weird at my book launch, and I said to my mum the next day, "What's wrong? You know, what's going on?" And she said, "No one else knows, and I've got quite a big family." And she said, "They found a lump and they're worried." And I was like, "Not again. Can't be again." You know. And I remember it worried me so much that I couldn't do anything with the book. You know, couldn't do anything with the book. I was meant to do like interviews and things like that, and I didn't do anything. I just stayed by her side because I was the only one that knew with her. So by the end of this February, she had been diagnosed with cancer, and I was in that room with her when she was told again that she had been diagnosed with cancer for the second time, and then I had to be the one to tell everybody. And one of the things that the consultant in the room said was, they said, because you've got 4 daughters, and they're all relatively young. You yourself is young, because my mum was only 57. They said, you got to get your daughters checked out. We can put them underneath the clinic so that you guys can keep getting checked out. And I'll be honest, I took it seriously, but my sisters, because they weren't in the room with me, they were sort of blindsided by the fact my mum had been diagnosed. That wasn't at the forefront of their minds. But I took it seriously, and I even sort of signed up for genetic testing and whatever. And it was great because luckily my mum didn't have to have chemo. She had another mastectomy, so she's completely flat. And she made a fantastic recovery, and, you know, only had to take hormone drugs and things. I nursed her through that for the next couple of months. And I remember at the end of it, I went on holiday with my friend, and I was just so unwell on that holiday, and I didn't understand why. And I had a little feel, and I found a lump. And I thought, what is this? You know, it could be stress. I had quite big breasts at the time, so I was like, maybe it's just stress and whatever. And I thought, this doesn't feel right. Booked myself in for the genetic testing so they could check, but also do some checks to see if there was any family link there, because obviously that was what they were worried about at the time. And would you believe, the day I was meant to go in, I never get unwell. I never really get unwell. On the day I was meant to go in, I woke up in the morning and I just couldn't stop vomiting. And so I said to them, well, look, I can't come. So that meant that the lump was there still, and it was growing. And you could actually see it you could see it. And then one of the ladies that I used to go to for like massages and things, she said, look, it doesn't feel right. I want you to go and get it checked out today. I was like, I can't go today. How can I walk to the hospital today? But she did. She was very insistent. And she said, if you don't do it, I'm going to come to your house. I've got your address and I'm going to take you myself. I say that woman saved my life because I would have just left it there. I was happy to leave it there. And I kid you not, guys, I went. And I remember that was at the end of sort of September. My birthday's October the 4th. And would you absolutely believe, within about 7 or 8 days, I had gone to my doctor, they were worried, fast-tracked me to hospital, went within a couple of days. They fast-tracked me to get biopsy, and within 7 days, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I immediately went into shock. I went into shock and anxiety. Nothing prepares you for those words. And you might have heard it before. You may have even seen people get through it and be okay. But when it's you yourself, you don't quite know how to, no one can prepare you for that. No one can tell you how you're going to feel.
What would you say to someone who might be in that state of shock and kind of felt how you did? What would you say to them?
I would say to anyone that's kind of just been diagnosed and is going through that same shock is that you will be okay. You might not feel it now, but it's important to be really, really truthful with your feelings and how you're feeling, and you will be okay. You'll find your normal.
So how often do you check your breast?
Yeah, so I used to check regularly all the time. That's why I was quite shocked when my lump came, because it came out of nowhere, really. So I ended up with both of my breasts being removed and then completely reconstructed. So my breasts look like a breast because they've even got like the areolas there, the nipples there, but it's all artificial. But even now, I still check. I actually don't have any feeling there, but I still check because it's important to still keep checking all the time.
What did the lump feel like when you came across it?
I think with every single body, we're all so different than each other. So I think it's all about getting to know your normal, and you know what lumps feel normal and what's not. With my lump, what I found was that it just didn't change position. With the lumps that I'd previously got for around my menstrual cycle or whatever, they kind of shifted or grew smaller, bigger, whatever. With this one, it just didn't change position. But it was just completely different to my hormonal lumps. And only you're gonna know that. I have this slogan, if in doubt, check it out, because it is so important to get to know your normal.
If you could describe what you think a legend is,
Yeah.
what would you say?
I think a legend, the meaning of legend to me is somebody that is a pioneer in a sense within their communities, whatever they might be. There's so many different people around me that I would call legends, and they're legends for so many different things. And it doesn't necessarily mean about what they do in their communities, it's about who they are.
What would you want the legacy to be?
I think my legacy would be to really make a difference in how people see cancer within the Black community and the way that people approach the word cancer as a whole, and the experience of somebody with cancer. For me, having cancer was really, really difficult, but I'm also from a marginalised community within the UK, and having to deal with that and having to deal with the perceptions of what my community perceived breast cancer to be, or my diagnosis to be, was a completely different ballgame. And I never really got it that bad, having used my time during being on the chemo wards and meeting these women talking about these really, really tough and really difficult and inhumane situations they've been in because of their cancer diagnoses was, for me, where I fell into my accidental work with Black Women Rising, the Black Women Rising project. For me personally, I remember going through, when I started going through cancer and I started to get over the shock and I started to let people know that I was diagnosed with cancer. You know, these were some of the comments that I got. Black people don't get cancer. How comes you've got it? What have you done? You know, because almost like it was like cancer was a curse, you know, sort of thing. And then I got all these things through the door saying, it's because you work too hard and it's because of stress. It's because of your drinking, because I liked to go out on a Friday, Saturday night. It's your drinking, it's your lifestyle. And all that did to me was make me feel 10 times worse, because it felt like I was to blame. I looked on the internet to see if there was any people I could relate to. I remember just seeing Naomi Campbell's mum, you know. I remember that was the only Black person I saw. I didn't see much Black people, young Black girls talking about cancer. I didn't see it at all.
What do you think the kind of roots of the problem is there?
Yeah.
What do you Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the massive root of the problem is cultural taboos and myths that have been embedded in these communities for centuries. And I think it's also embedded in racism as well. When racism, we know racism is still a problem, but when racism was at an all-time high, people of colour didn't feel like they could trust, doctors, nurses, and white people. And I think that is something that has been like a huge learning curve for me, was seeing how much people do not trust health institutions, doctors, nurses. Everything's about, let's keep it to ourselves and let's try and work on it ourselves. If you've got cancer, how about we go natural? There's this kind of, because we'll take care of it ourselves, because they're not to be trusted. And quite rightly so. There's huge health inequalities in our country. We know that. There is huge health inequalities. It's not all, but there is huge. We see it within women's pregnancy. We're seeing it in cancer. We're seeing it in chronic illnesses. We know that it's there because that old school mentality of let's keep it to ourselves, let's not scare people. You can see that that's kind of really embedded in everyone from our communities, and it's only the new gen that's doing it and talking about these things and being more open because we've got the platforms and the means of doing so.
What would you say to another black woman or man who's experiencing symptoms of cancer? What would you advise to them if
Yeah.
they feel that they're not being taken seriously by their GP or healthcare professional?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot. I would always say to a person of colour that's experiencing any symptoms that are not normal to them to always go and get it checked out. Don't rely on yourself or your own knowledge that you think you did. Go and get it checked out. And if you feel that you're not being taken seriously, always demand a scan and further investigation. That's all you need to do. And I know that people probably will listen to this because they'll relate to this, being told you're too young, you're fit and healthy, there's nothing going to be wrong with you. Ignore all of that and demand for it to go, you'll ask them for a further investigation. But anything that you don't feel is normal, go and get it checked out. Don't look on the internet either, because it will tell you you're dying before you even get told. Yeah.